Hello there everyone, welcome back. It's time to face off once again against the Tau Empire, and against Crooked no less, who I have actually encountered before when I was leveling up my Eldar fleet shortly before the actual championship series took place, so I have a rough idea of what to expect here. I also been talking to him a bit every now and then from encounters online, of course, but this is actually going to be his first real match, as he just said already, in ranked mode. So fighting persistent mode is one thing, but ranked mode is a completely different beast altogether, because now you have to deal with attrition. You have to deal with the strength of your fleet getting segmented and divide a little bit, as maybe your key ships are getting destroyed, crippled, or even worse. So it remains to be seen if he's prepared for that, if he's had all his ships able to complement each other in a nice equal sense. Well, I don't even know what I'm really saying, but truth of the matter is, with ranked mode, you gotta make sure you have all your ships ready to fight, able to fight, quite frankly, especially if you're gonna be fielding almost entirely cruisers like I kinda am doing with my fleet. Hell, with this convoy mission in hand, I'm sticking with the Void Stalker and 3 Auroras here, which takes up a good chunk of my fleet there, because if all these ships were destroyed, I'm only going to have 1 Aurora left over. But I still got my Eclipses, I still got 3 Shadows at least for the next 2 rounds. So in theory I'm good here, but I'm not quite used to the convoy missions. In all honesty, I think this was the first real convoy mission I've ever had. Aside for my very first match for the championship series, I actually had a convoy there against Space Marines, so I'm not really sure what to make of this, especially as Eldar, because of their fragile state. Not only are these things only going 112 units a second, they're like ridiculously slow even for a convoy standard, I believe, because I think most other convoys actually go 150. A good handful of them anyway. And the fact that Eldar only can go 112 with a very limited boost is not really a comfortable circumstance for me, so it's kind of funny how this is actually the first time I'm encountering a convoy mission against me even. At least it feels like that way. I could entirely be wrong, and maybe I fought convoy before as the defender, but we see 3 ships here. I'm kind of open-minded about stealth alloy, and especially custodian, quite frankly, here, because I don't honestly know what to really expect, because with the additional frigates that he has possible with his gravitic hooks, again with the concept of the custodian possibly being in play, he could be anywhere, so I can't really push up without a risk of them just getting horribly murdered. But once I see the fighters' defenses there, I'm aware we're fighting 3 protectors, potentially 3 protectors anyway, so without a doubt with 600 points I know there's at least another cruiser around. At the very least there's definitely going to be enough points for a cruiser of some kind that's hidden, so it could ambush me at any convenient time. Oh, and I wasn't even paying attention to the mini-map all this time. I actually saw it has stealth alloy, so that's why I was playing defensive. But nonetheless, we go in for the attack there. My Auroras aren't exactly in the best positioning, but this, oddly enough, is a really bad angle for my torpedoes. Normally, against Chaos, against Imperial Navy, against almost any other factions, this would be prime broadside angle for my torpedoes, but with how flat the Tau are, and the fact that he's got the air cache favors as well in those protectors, I wasn't comfortable doing a torpedo shot with a like. I wasn't comfortable getting torpedo shots I like, but I do follow his maneuver trying to dodge these seeker missiles a little bit. I do dodge the first salvo. I get my pulsars off, not the full salvo I would like, but if you pay close attention to the stasis bomb, it actually activates a second too early there. I was planning on boosting on out, which is why I broke off the pulsar attack run early as I did, but for some weird reason, it got me stuck in there briefly. Which probably did throw off that attack run a little bit. I could have committed a bit more if I was going to get stuck regardless, but right now it's not looking a good predicament, especially when I don't got the firing arc I would like for that protector with its shields down. I'm actually forced to try and commit to fighting the second one there, which is kind of one of the main risks of playing Eldar, especially if your opponents can conveniently protect our ships, and with the air cache favor on the Tau ships, they actually have a relatively easy time doing that with their high turn radius as well as the additional speed. We don't quite have the length, though, to effectively protect them, but as it stands now, I can't engage that protector as much as I would like. It's being blocked, and all the damage is being spread out, which is definitely problematic, because I kind of would need to get immediate kill. I have the torpedoes to do that very effectively, but again, there's where the high mobility is a bit of a problem with the torpedoes. It is a bit of a problem. The Void Stalker is taking a world of hurt. It's been the focus, thankfully, so it's taking all the hits, but with the bombers, with the seeker missiles just finally hitting out the brace for impact, I do effectively trade 1 for 1 there. Not really a good trade, and in all honesty, this wreckage is also in my way, which, funny enough, is not blocking most of his railguns, so I couldn't commit to that attack as much as I would like to, because the wreckage actually would have blocked the pulsars, I'm pretty damn certain. So, we are in an awkward position, I said before. I have torpedoes that could potentially kill his protectors immediately if I can hit with them. If there's a way I can hit with them. I fire torpedoes there. I do get 2 torpedo hits, but the other 2 were destroyed, or shot down rather. As I try and commit to getting these kills. I kind of need to get these kills quite quickly if I'm going to have any chance on a victory here, because those railguns are going to murder me quickly, especially in close proximity. It doesn't matter about the hollow fields or not. With the sheer amount of macro weaponry he has, they're going to without a doubt hit me, especially with the generators down on that one Aurora right now. But second protector's down. The Sauce is revealed is actually an Earth Cache Sauce, which I'm oblivious to for the time being, just acknowledging the Sauce is even there, but we are trying to kill this thing. That's the main priority right now. We still have convoy ships, which unfortunately, there's still plenty of defensive posture, so I couldn't quite push them up, especially since that Sauce was in a convenient place to kind of block 2 of them anyway, so it would have been good for drawing some fire for a little bit, but they wouldn't have kept the convoy alive. It would have just been delaying the inevitable, I think. Torpedoes do go off. I get a good torpedo hit there. Not quite a kill just yet. And unfortunately, it would have been a kill if those shields had died. So, we still got a little bit more work to do, and we still have that dang Sauce to deal with. We still have 1 more, and the shields still are not quite down. So, the adaptive deflector, I'm assuming he has them on there. I didn't actually check. Did their work for how low his shield health was. And with this fire assault, I'm not really comfortable just waiting for him to burn down. Although, in retrospect, this is probably a mistake trying to commit to another engagement, especially with the shield still recharging. So, in retrospect, I should have kept that Aurora going because it just burnt down to a fire assault. So, if that Aurora had stayed alive, if it had avoided the bombers, and of course been outside sensor range of the Sauce, this would be a very different turnout. As it stands, I decide to commit all my convoy to attacking the Sauce, and it actually does relatively well, but to keep this match front dragging on, because he does eventually destroy the convoy ships he needs for the victory, I do get him down to about 150-200 health, burning through his repairs as well, so this could have been a win for me if the Aurora had stayed alive, if it had kept running, but we're going to skip right on out to the next match, save you the trouble, but nonetheless, it was actually a lot closer than I actually thought it would have been. Alright, that's pretty much it right there. I was a little bit wrong with what I said there. It was just over 200 health there, but it was surprisingly effective for like 5 convoy ships, and one of which I completely forgot about to bring into the fight, so again, an Aurora complementing that would have been amazing. It would, I want to argue, would have been a win then, considering my Aurora still had like 200 health left to it. It was just the bombers and seeker missiles that killed it. So, there was a few weird things like the stasis bomb triggering earlier than it should have, although I did manage to get out. It did waste my boosters trying to get out of the stasis bomb, so it's hard to say how effective, how much that would have changed things for me with the Void Stalker, gaining its breathing room, gaining its distance, but we destroyed all his protectors. It's mostly the Sauces now, whatever he has for auxiliary ships, and the Custodian. And I still got 2 Eclipses, and I got the jamming potential of my Shadows, but with the presence of the beacons, as we clearly saw, he burnt at least 2 of them, trying to reveal and stick on to the Void Stalker, so we know he has that available, and this is actually the first time I tried to field my Kurnos patterns with my Eclipses there, which in all honesty makes me regret a little bit not going for Cruiser Clash or something where I could field 700 points, because fielding Aurora I don't think complements this fleet very well. Not as well, as especially with the second Shadow. Would it have been better to go with 2 Shadows, an Eclipse and Aurora? Maybe that could have been better. Either way, I'm limited on my jamming potential just a little bit. It's not going to be as potent as I would like there, especially since now he doesn't have the protectors. I would imagine. Let's see, in retrospect, the auxiliary ships normally are like the strongholds pretty much, so that's like a battleship type of ship, but in this case he actually has a bunch of Kroot War Spears he's fielding this match. He has 2 of them with the Stealth Alloy, but it comes back to the point I was referring to before, was leading to, is that the Kroot War Spear is still a battleship, so the renown need for the upgrades is still as expensive as a battleship, so I don't know how effective they are going to be, especially since it restricts the rest of his other fleet, quite frankly, with the renown cost that's required of them, especially with their slow mobility and the need to have the emission dissipator possibly, since the only way the Kroot War Spears actually turns is by using its boosters, so it's a bit of a weird ship, a ship I would love to actually try out if I ever go back to Tau, because I feel like there's some hidden value in that ship, but like I said, with it costing as much as a battleship for favors, well, not really favors, but upgrades and skills, it's going to be hard pressed to find use for it in a ranked match, I think, because there's still the Bastion for when you need a lighter type of Demiurge ship that's not as heavy on the points, your limited supply of renown. But we're oblivious to that so far. We don't know what he's fielding there. I'm still suspecting Custodian, quite frankly, but as I said before, he's fielding his War Spears in here, and he's also got 3 Sauces. He's fielding 3 Sauces. I can't quite remember off the top of my head if they're all Earth Cache or not. I know at least the one we fought in the last match was Earth Cache, so we are expecting maybe experimental railguns, especially since Crooked admitted that he's not so much on speed now with the rest of his fleet, so it feels like air cache is definitely out of the question there. As I get myself ready, I'm trying to see if I can ambush or strike one of those ships there, one of the Sauces in the middle there, by flanking to the right, especially since one of those ships on the far left doesn't seem to be moving at all. I'm not paying too much attention to its mobility, it just seems like it's not moving, so I'm not sure what to make of that ship just yet. Not quite sure, and I'm still watching for the fighters too, because that's basically the biggest tell if there's a Custodian of some sort. I'm kind of wondering if that's the Custodian on the top right, or top left rather. Although I didn't see any fighters in that, and I know he would have deployed them if he was concerned about getting hit by torpedoes in my bombers anyway. Because he did do that for the protectors, so either way, we try to move in, trying to be swift and strike the Sauce with how spread out his ships is, but he's already ahead of the game there. He's already got it turning around, so now it's just a question as I try and attempt to jam both of these Sauces. I do just bite the bullet and jam one as I do my aggressive play, but I have an Augur Disruptor as well, so both ships jammed as a backup. And really, with his brace for impact already up, we just switch targets, quite frankly. As the armor hasn't even been breached yet, this Pulsar's already doing work, quite frankly. These Sauces are not as resilient as the Protectors have been with the possible Adaptive Deflector and extra shields, although, to be honest, I haven't even been watching or looking at what the Protectors have for upgrades, so I'm completely oblivious to that. They're just very resilient with the shield transfer. And yep, like I said, he did have railguns, so we get the first Sauce kill. I do lose my Aurora due to an unlikely ram attempt, because I do lose a little bit of control there. I thought I had boosted, but it was like burning retros at that point, then just stopped entirely. So that was a bit of bad control on my part, but it was still the weak link. It was the least burdensome, the one ship I can afford to lose. As we dodge the experimental railgun, we destroy a second saucer, and the third one gets slowed down. It's a nice tempting target for a pulsar run by. As well as I launch the bombers too, trying to get them in close in time for when the stasis bomb goes off. So this is not going to be pretty, needless to say, but like I said before, there's still ships around, still hitting somewhere. Considering this is like just 300 points, so about half his fleet's kind of hitting right now, and God knows where they're at. God knows where they're at. Although I do try and get the final kills on this thing here. Try to get the final pulsars. He does go for the ramming attempt, which he still gets. He still gets a ram because the boost is still off cooldown, or still on cooldown rather. But a little bit of a sloppy end there, letting him get the ramming attempt he so desperately wanted. He got it. He did like half my health worth of the eclipses. Yeah, that's almost, well, 300 health worth of damage in that brief instance. So it was still painful. It's why you never want to get rammed as Eldar. It's like it's like how you could tell the good players from the bad players. And clearly letting myself get rammed means I'm horrible at this, huh? Well, it happens to the best of us, and right now we're in good position, considering the first objective was ignored, with whatever he's planning there. And even if he were to get that objective, we still have 4 objectives, and I am in a good position to just prepare myself for anything he's got in mind. I could just defend the objective and prepare for him. Either way, we have no idea what he's feeling at this point here until he decides to commit. And if you listen very carefully, I can hear the ship's boosters, as I'm going to make a comment on. This is a trick. This is something I learned when I was fighting Solare. If you recall that one battle where he decides to split up his fleet and hide them in the corner of the map. This is how I found his ships. When I got close to his ships, he decided to do high energy turns and boosts in panic, and that's how I found them, is with the audio cues. In this case, though, I was a little bit off, just a tiny bit, although I did hear a second crew war spear, which was relatively close to what I said. It actually gets louder the closer you are to the ship when you're looking over it. It doesn't matter if it's invisible or not. And I bring it up mainly because this is probably something most people are probably not aware of. It's certainly something I had not considered, in all honesty, in that you can hear the boosters when you go all ahead full, or any other equivalent to the boosters. Hell, you could probably even hear the Eldar's Wraithbone shift there, which is something I need to be mindful of if I'm going to use my void blending to try and do sneak attacks. It will give away my position if he's inconveniently looking in that direction. So, as a tip to everyone watching this who may not be aware, you do not use those boosters unless you absolutely have to. There is a chance you're giving away your position even with a mission dissipator. It's something that I did not realize until that one match in the championship, and I used it to its fullest and actually got me to win as a result. I managed to pincer down those damn wardens that were hiding in the corner and thoroughly take them out back when Solare decided to do that. Solare, rather. So, it was useful then, and if Crooked decided to commit with the war spears, keeping him hitting like that, I could have used that booster to kind of narrow down my search a little bit. It's a little bit weird with Crew War Spear, because again, he kind of needs to use his boosters if he wants to turn it all. The Crew War Spears actually just float in space, almost quite literally. You can't turn them unless you use the combusting gauge to change your heading. So it's a little bit weird, and of course, almost never seen the Crew War Spears. It's hard to really say how to get the most out of them. They're better as like the front line kind of drawing all the fire rather than trying to be sneaky with them and grab the objectives, I would argue, because they are only 110 points, 120 points. They're really damn cheap either way for like 1,000 points worth of haul. Although they do have 50 armor and they're vulnerable to critical hits because they only take hull breaches and fires, so there is some weaknesses to them, but they are incredibly durable for the points at least. Again, it comes down to the fact that they cost a battleship's worth in upgrades and skills, so they're burning a lot of renown to fit them. So it's something to be careful of. And probably something that's not very... well, probably going to be really difficult to utilize effectively in ranked mode, since you already are limited in renown. Especially if you want to go with favors and full upgrades. Nonetheless, we see the final fleet for the cruiser clash. We are looking at a frigate swarm of some sort. It just remains to be seen which is a custodian, which are Borkons, and which are just straight up Castellans and messengers. It's really difficult to say until I see some fighters, quite frankly. With Tau, it's the most difficult to say what his fleet composition is with this mix-up, especially with, again, the Kroot War Spears hidden somewhere, because there are only 7 ships visible right now, and that means there's just 5 other ships, or, yeah, there's like 3 ships, rather, that are still hidden there, not just the Kroot War Spears, so who knows what that 3rd hidden ship is if he's feeling his 2 War Spears, which he is actually feeling the 2 War Spears in this as well, so I have no idea what that 3rd hidden ship is. No idea at all, and it could very easily be a custodian. I just don't know how the points line up, because this would be the first time I would see a custodian and 2 War Spears, quite frankly.
Yes, Commander.
Either way, we have to try and make our commitment here, try and attack, and with the 2 shadows I at least have a nice safe way to whittle down his ships. I have that safe way with the bombers. I just gotta keep constant vision, which is what this Hellborn is for. And one little change I made after that match with Calamar, is I actually got rid of the resonating crystals on the Hellborn. And so that way I can transfer the extended sensors over to the Arcanites as well. And I freak out for a moment when I hear that mine. I was worried I flew into something there, which is entirely possible. It will happen every now and again with Eldar, especially with the Wraith Bone shift. But I lost my train of thought now with the damn mine. Thank you very much, you stupid mine. You're messing me up in the commentary as you were in the match itself. Nonetheless, oh yeah, it was about the resonating crystal. It was about changing over to... yeah, I swapped over the resonating crystals for the extended sensors on the Arcanite in case I face off against Eldar again, especially with the solid run maneuvers when they try and run away from me. At least it'll help me get vision, especially if I go with the frigate swarm. I'll have so many of them. It'll be difficult for them to jam, especially if I have 1 or 2 hidden back. But we get the War Spear detected, we get Messenger detected, so we have our choice of targets here to try and bomb now. And any critical hits, again, are going to just result in fire assaults and hull breaches. There will be no way I can destroy generators, no way I can destroy his engines or anything like that, so that thing could die quickly with some lucky critical hits. It's relatively resilient for a point cost, but it can also die ridiculously fast. May I introduce you someday to the Space Marines there, the Kroot? The Space Marines are going to have a field day with them, I think, with boarding torpedoes and just regular boarding. Ooh, that would be brutal. The one faction that isn't really damage dependent is going to suddenly become the most damaging due to most ridiculous burst damage with that kind of boarding potential. If they ever fight a Kroot Spear. But nonetheless, we actually did get a little bit of bombing attempts there. We got a little bit of hits in, and so long as I could keep Arcanite Fission in, or was it the Hellborn's Fission in, we're golden. But I guess Crooked knows this may have been a losing battle. It definitely would have been a tense one for me, because if I start screwing up, I start committing early, I could be in a lot of trouble with the Castellans and whatever other cruisers he may have fielded for this match. I could have been in trouble. I could have just played safe with the shadows all game, and I definitely would have won without a doubt, but it's entirely possible I could have got a little bit impatient. There was that risk, but in the end, we do get to win there. There was a chance for him maybe to beat me outright with how I lost all my ships in the first round, and it remains to be seen what the Custodian was fit, but thank you, Crooked, though, for the match. I definitely appreciate it, and I hope to see you again in the ranked mode.